Happy Friday, everyone. I'll tell you what, Bitcoin, the market's trying to make it an extra happy Friday. And speaking of happies, happy birthday to my wife. She's my rock and she keeps this house together and she's absolutely incredible. Happy birthday to her. We're going to take a look at SPY, QQQ, IWM in this video. And I'll tell you what, there's even more exciting stuff. So NVDA, I'll give an update on that. Bitcoin, of course, XRP, of course. But then I also, at the end, I want to talk a little bit about the quantum stocks that we see and potentially the moves that they could be making in the very near term. So we'll talk about some of the kind of exciting things that are out there in the market right now. And I think that there's a lot of reasons to be very excited for what we're seeing. So let me pop the charts up here for you. We'll kick things off with SPY. So for the S&P 500 here, let me go back to the daily chart and we'll reset that view and we'll stretch this thing out so we can really drill down into what I want you to see. We are trying as hard as we can. I said 609.83 was that number to beat. And I'll tell you what, look at this. We had a bit of an indecision kind of day on Friday of last week, so 1 week ago. And then fast forward to Tuesday, we traded up above it. I said bullish. We traded even higher and showing opening just above support and then bouncing pretty darn high off of that up to 613.23. And then yesterday, we tried to sell down below it, hit the 13-day, and ended up closing back up above the 5. Once again, bullish signs that we're looking for to see that buying pressure come in on Tuesday and on Wednesday and finding support, on Thursday, and then finding that support on Wednesday. So we do need to get that full candle to keep on sitting on top of there. We're still waiting for that moment that really starts to catalyze this, that pushes it up. That support off the 13, a very good thing. We're also above the 20, the 50, and the 200 days. So besides the near-term EMAs that we have on here, the longer-term SMAs that I also have are still pointing to bullishness. The RSI is still looking pretty ripe, right at about 58. So not anywhere even close to being overbought as we look at the SPY on a daily basis. When we go to the Qs, this once again is the weekly chart. Let's go down to the daily chart that we have on here. The Q is struggling a little bit with 539.15. Now, mind you, we're still showing signs of buying pressure, and so maybe just need to get a candle on top of that. That's just really what it comes down to. And I think one of the bigger reasons they're struggling is because NVIDIA earnings are next week. Now, I said that I would have those coming out this week. I planned for that this morning's video, doing my NVIDIA stock price prediction, earnings projection. Unfortunately, my baby girl had a bit of a spill yesterday and kind of delayed things a little bit. Now she has a splint on her leg, and even though she walks around, runs around just fine, now she has to crawl around until we find out a little bit more from the doctor. The x-rays need to show what's going on there. So keep your eyes open this weekend for that NVIDIA stock price prediction and earnings projection. I'm pretty excited to put that out there and talk about it, but I do think for now it is kind of keeping the Qs just a little bit subdued from unanchoring a little bit and letting us to free rise up to that 558 that I have on here. So still bullish on the Qs. RSI sitting pretty right now, still in bullish territory. So the momentum's good. The moving averages also good. Seeing that we're above the 20, 50, and the 200 day, still in very bullish positioning there as well. And so with the momentum good and the position as per the moving averages good, I'd say that we're still in a decent shape for the Qs as well. IWM, man, look at this consolidation pattern that we're seeing on IWM. So off the bottoms here, this goes back a while. The touch that we have goes all the way back to October of 2023. So we're riding this support line. This is a very critical support line that I have on here. And this line that we have coming across the top, that is coinciding with the 50-day, the 20-day moving averages. We absolutely want to watch and see for a breakup above that. We tried on Thursday, February the 6th. Just couldn't do it. Got rejected. Fell back down through it. But look, we're still catching that support. Still a good thing. If we can break that just massive resistance up above there, that's going to be very good for us. It could be very bullish for IWM. Remember the 4 pillars that I talked about that are going to be good for all the stock markets, that are all the indices, I should say, that we have. So for the S&P, for the NASDAQ 100, Russell 2000, Dow Jones, you name it. So when we look at those, we want to talk about easy financial monetary policy, I should say, high GDP, low inflation, strong unemployment. And now, mind you, we have a little bit of nervousness over the February report that we have coming at the beginning of March. So that's something to keep in mind for, once again, all these indices for what exactly could come. The market could be worried for that. We could see that happening early on. And pending those, that could be what's holding us back for that skyrocket moment if we get another one coming up, or maybe it is the thing that causes us to sell back down for a while. We're going to have to watch and see with those economic reports. Now for NVIDIA actually just formed a trend line going back to the last, where we got the third touch on it was on Tuesday the 18th of February, and it looks like it was in the pre-market hours, is when we had that taking place. There we go. Sometime during that time, 8 o'clock to noon, so it was somewhere in there. If I drill down the times further, we would see more. This is the 4-hour chart that we're looking at, and we also have a much longer support line that we managed to get back up on top of recently, and now we're watching to see which way do we break. Do we break up above this up here, or do we break down below it? Now, the earnings date is right here. You can see that Wednesday the 26th in the after hours, and the point of this consolidation, it doesn't happen until March 4th. So we could honestly break out between now and we'll say the day after earnings, or anywhere in there. So we could be stuck in this range all the way up to and including earnings. And I said with all this chop over here, being right in the middle of it, that makes so much sense, just perfect sense. Okay, which way do we go? This is that coin flip that we're looking for NVIDIA. It's going to be tough to move it a lot higher without knowing what's going on specifically with NVIDIA, what happened this past quarter, and what do they see for the next quarter, even for further guidance outside of that. People are going to be really, really curious about the demand, especially with the DeepMind stuff that we saw with the efficiencies in AI that are being put out there, even with the limitations that they may have. So this is definitely something we want to keep an eye on for which way we come out of this consolidation. If you look at the 4-hour chart, you can draw a line off those peaks, hopefully to the upside on this. As a long-term investor in NVIDIA, I can tell you what, I really, really do enjoy that the times that it skyrockets up, because it's nice to watch my portfolio go up. And for the times that it drops way down, it's nice because I can scoop up some more shares as I remain long-term bullish on NVIDIA. I still think that they have just the moat and the cash to keep on innovating and to stay in their top dog spot. And I don't think that the efficiencies that we saw near term with large language models, I don't really think that it's a death knell for NVIDIA. I think if anything, it should be more invigorating, if you will. It's just a matter of how big of an appetite do companies have for the NVIDIA products and services, given that they can't. That they are right now are maximizing, but they might not necessarily need that same amount in order to push the limitations. But I still think my main case is that this is still an AI arms race, and it's going to be a global one, and NVIDIA sits at the heart of it. And that's one of the big reasons why I remain bullish on NVIDIA. So let's move out of there over to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has broken on above its trend line, broken above its 20-day on Thursday, and then today it's flirting with the 50-day, it's flirting with the 100K, sitting on top of the 50-day. We would need a full candle just sitting up there being like, hey, this is a floor that is strong enough to hold me, and then we want to see that push up from there. The number to beat up above 100,000, it was 107,982. So that's the number we want to get a candle on top of to break this double peak that we have over here. We got to be careful for a triple top. Until that happens, we got to actually be careful for that double top really playing out. Although breaking above this consolidation line, you can even back this line up here if you want to. A little bit less clean, you get those two peekaboos of that selling pressure, but it is still a pretty attractive looking line in my estimation, I guess. So when we look at this, we are breaking up above that. That's a bullish thing. Momentum at 53, crossed above the 50. That's a good thing. On the daily chart, as we look at it, it is absolutely massive if we break this line. A rejection at the 50 at this point in time would not be good for us. Sitting on top of the 50 is going to be amazing for us. I think that we easily get that 107,892 coming out of that. Less easy is breaking up above that. As you can see, the two rejections that we've gotten, or three if you want to count this one over here, even though it fell a couple of dollars short, about $70 or so short of that number. So just tried, couldn't quite get there yet. But we could be seeing that moment coming. You can see the buying support that we're getting off, and then the 95,413, which I told you before we ever got there was an important line to watch. As a matter of fact, I think it's been on here for quite a while, that even when we traded down below it, you can see the support that we have over here all the way through January. Found out that in early February that's still support for us. If I go to the monthly chart, you can see that does go back to 2021's peaks that we have on here. It's not resistance anymore. It is support now, and so far still proving to be pretty darn strong support. And hopefully this is that moment that we get to see crypto take its next leg up, pushes up above 107,982, and we start to see up here is about 116 to 120, depending on how long it takes for this top trend line. And once again, that's off of other peaks that we've seen that can act as resistance for us in the near term. I do think that we have that 144 coming out. I think within the next 12 months, we see that number happen for us, assuming that we stay in a relatively risk-on environment. I think that Bitcoin is going to experience that, especially don't put aside the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund. That would include that Bitcoin Strategic Reserve in there as well. And that is expected perhaps by June, maybe sooner, maybe later. We're going to have to watch and see if that does indeed happen. If it does, I think it's going to be absolutely massive, very bullish for us. So we want to watch and see if we get that moment. There's going to be a lot of buying pressure that goes along with it. And we've have so far a really well-established floor. Thank you to those 2021 peaks. Moving over to XRP, what do we got going on? Look at that consolidation. My goodness, consolidation pattern that we have. But look at the resistance with this trend line right across the top. We are pushing up against it. Found support in this support area that I talked about previously. And then we sat on top of that support area. And the bulls are really, really trying to push this thing up. Hopefully they have the pressure. The momentum is looking okay, but it's sort of trading along that 50, kind of dancing around it right now. We need that next leg up for XRP. Get Bitcoin over 100K. And that could be that next technical thing that allows XRP to take that next leg up and push up above this consolidation pattern. And then if we can find that as support for us here, I'll click on the paintbrush, break up here and find support off it. That could send us back up to 340. Watch out for the double top until 340 has a candle sitting on top of it. And if it does, that's when we start to get from there. Let me take that back off for you. There we go. From there, that's where we start to look for that 472 that has that potential to show up. I was hoping to see it sooner. Well, wishing one hand, poo-poo in the other one. See which one feels faster. Am I right? So moving over here, check this out. Let's start off with Resides. So the quantum stocks that I talked about. Look at this consolidation pattern that we have going on from the bottoms and the tops of this thing, really whittling down, narrowing. You can see a narrowing in the Bollinger Bands. If I take those away, you can see the 50 and the 20-day more prominently. The 50 closing down, or the 20 closing down on the 50, not great for us if we can't get up above it. That could be a death cross where we have a faster moving average crossing down over a slower moving average. That could lead to some selling pressure. The RSI is still down below 50. There's some things to worry about, but we are trying to break up above the top of that consolidation pattern. That's bullish if it does, but then we got to watch out for hitting our heads on the moving averages, which could send us back down anyway, and it could kill the play entirely. So the momentum's not quite there. The moving averages for a Jetty, not quite there. RGTI is the ticker symbol, by the way. Not quite where we want them to be yet, but keep an eye on it, on this consolidation pattern, on those moving averages for that moment that really could push us up and over. And then when we go to IONQ, when we look at this one, another consolidation pattern. So these are moving together in tandem. You can see a lot of this correlation going on between the two of them. And well, we're on the bottom trend line for this one. We're well below the 50 and the 20 on this one. Those are inside of this top part of the consolidation pattern here. Getting up above those, a little bit more troublesome. I don't know that we have a breakout moment coming, but I know that we have enough evidence to at least be interested that we could have some movement to the upside. Now, mind you, if you play options, for example, you could even play this to the downside with some put options, for example, or you could just flat out short it. Not financial advice, never ever on this channel. These are just ideas that I'm sharing, thoughts that I'm sharing from what I see around the markets. So Resides, IONQ, both in consolidation patterns. Watch for which way they break out, but also watch the moving averages to see what happens. And that could tell you long or short in the near future. We could see a rampant move in that. QSI. Look at this trading that we have. Look at that consolidation straight sideways that we have on this. And when we bring up the Bollinger Bands, look at that narrowing that you see. This narrowing, which day after day, the more that we trade sideways on this, the more likely it is that we get a bigger breakout moment on this. And being a low market cap company like it is, $343 million on this thing, this is one that when it does move, being a penny stock like it is, it's going to move in a big way, in a big direction is what I'm guessing. So narrowing of the Bollinger Bands being that we're right near the moving averages. It's currently below them. RSI also showing us to be down below 50. We could break to the downside on this one, but again, we're going to have to watch and see. QSI not moving the same way QBTS did. So we'll go to that one next. But again, similar technicals on this one, although this one having a 13% movement yesterday on increased volume. So let me go down this way. There you go. There you can see the volume popping up above those moving averages. So we have elevated volume. Nothing like the selling pressure that we got before. Nothing like the rampant buying pressure that we got before. But when we look at this, there we go. Let me move that back down for you so we can see the chart on here. And I'll take away some of the technicals on this. We're above the 50, above the 20. We're breaking to the upside out of this narrowing of the Bollinger Bands. And we're up about 5% in the pre-market. this might not be done moving yet. QBTS might be that play. It certainly currently is the best looking of the four for the quantum stocks that I have listed here for you. So guys, in summary for this video, SPY, QQQ looking very good. IWM looking questionable, but man, it's just teetering on the edge of being awesome. And I got to say, maybe it depends on how we end February and how we begin March. These could be a critical 2 weeks coming up that really do decide, if we've topped out on things and now it's time to settle a little bit, or if it's the time to really start to blast off once again and give us that next leg up. I gave you those 4 pillars, that easy monetary policy, low inflation, high GDP, and then that last one. Man, I really got to write these down so I can hold up that list or put them up on the screen for you. And unemployment's the other one. So stable unemployment is the other thing that we're looking for. We don't want rampant tightening. Could be good given that the other 3 are also strong reports for us. We want to see signs that this economy is just pounding along, man, just thumping. And the easy monetary policy is also really, really, really going to be a catalyst in that. And by the way, I should also mention the stimulus checks that are being talked about right now. If they become more and more of a reality, that can also be something that also does catalyze what we see in the markets as well. With that liquidity hitting the consumer, it's also good for GDP as well. So definitely can't discount that part of things. Crypto, be excited and also be watchful for a movement in the near term across those quantum stocks, especially that catalyst for Microsoft. There could be that next thing that gives us some big moves in some of those quantum stocks that I talked about. It could lead to some opportunities. If you guys want to see my technicals, want to see my buys and sells, make sure you check out the link in the description for the Patreon. When you get there, head on over to the Discord. That's where I have everything waiting for you. And then also, if you want to learn to do technical analysis yourself, there's a link for Stockmo Academy down in the description. Stockmo is a personal friend of mine, and he has developed a bread recipe trading strategy that goes along with that technical analysis course, and there's a learning community that goes along with it. You guys can sign up for that course, get it cheaper using the code word DOCTOR, DOCTOR. Trading strategy, super simple to set up. The course walks you exactly through how to do it. You can ask about the nuances of it. In that course, you can get feedback from the community over there as well. That's part of that Discord for that learning community. And it's a great time, a great place, and an even better strategy. I use it myself. Stockmo uses it himself. Like I said, guys, those links for supporting the channel are down in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.